All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello, and welcome to Mondays with Monty. I am Montegomery, and today's topic is going to be playing from behind. However, before we dig into the meat of today's show, I do have a couple of announcements I'd like to share. If you've been watching your calendar, you might be aware that next week is Christmas Eve, and the week after that is New Year's Eve. I mean, who knew they were going to fall on Mondays this year? Gosh. In any case, you might have been fearful and vexed that there might not be a Mondays with Monty next week. But I have good news for you. There is still going to be Mondays with Monty. It won't be exactly like normal Mondays with Monty because I'm not actually going to physically be here, but I will have a pre-recorded show for you next week on Monday and also the week after. They will be the Montgomery Christmas special and Montgomery New Year's Eve special, and they will be special. They won't be our typical stuff. It won't be your typical analysis and improvement and all this emphasis on improving as a player. We're just going to have fun. So I hope that you will join me next week and the week after, even though technically I'm not going to be here for it myself. But if you happen to have the time at 8 p.m. Central on Christmas Eve and New Year's, come on down and enjoy some fun. The other announcement is, if you have any interesting games that you want me to analyze or think could be useful to me, please remember you can always send them to Montegomerylol at gmail.com. That's my name, Montgomery, LOL for League of Legends at gmail.com. I will always be happy to accept anything you happen to send me. Whether or not I'll use it, I don't know. But it should be lots of fun. You know, whether it's some amazing game where you got a pentakill or just something where you were completely derp, as I often am, it'll be fun. All of that aside, we can now move on to the main course, playing from behind. Now, playing from behind is another one of those very important but not necessarily easy to learn skills that really help make you a better player. Everybody really needs to learn how to do this because it affects everybody. Even those pro players up there like Captain Jack or Double Lift or Little Balls or Dyrus or whoever happens to be your favorite player, they need this skill too. And they're probably better at it than you are, but it's something that's vital to them because even they, the best of the best, sometimes lose their lane or their team's behind, and knowing what to do in that situation is just really helpful. It makes games that otherwise look like abject failures turn into potential victories. Not certain victories. Let's be clear, you are behind, you are at a disadvantage, and that's not a good thing. But it is possible to come from behind and win in League of Legends, despite all of the random complaints like League of Snowballs, League of Win in 20 Minutes, and all of that crazy stuff that you sometimes see on the general forums. In any case, we're going to be talking about playing from behind, and there are three things that I have found are very, very critical to coming back from behind. And a lot of them are very mental. The first one is actually just to relax. Just take a Zen moment and breathe in and just recenter yourself. Just get your head back in the game. Because what happens very often is you're behind because of some disastrous calamity. Something happened, like you walked into tower range, or you fell to a very obvious gank, or something really, really bad just happened to you. And so your head is just spinning with that. It's like, oh my goodness, I ignited the wrong person, I died, my support died, the enemy carries 2 kills up, and they're 20 CS up now, oh my gosh, how am I going to come back from this? And you're just completely unsettled mentally, and then you start thinking very dangerous thoughts. Things like, I gotta make something happen. And the problem with that thought is not that it's bad for something good to happen to you, but it's bad for you to be really focused on that. The best and surest way to come back when you're behind is to just take it slow, calmly, and carefully crawl your way back in. Just crawl and claw until you are at a position where things are a little bit less lopsided. If you're thinking, I gotta make things happen, I gotta make things happen, you're going to jump at opportunities that are not so much opportunities for you as they are opportunities for your opponents to murder you. Not really what you're looking for. So relax, be patient, get your head back in the game. That's the first point, just relax. The second point, that's also very important, is don't vent, at least not publicly. If you are angry at your team, which is very likely, as a lot of the time these things happen, it's their fault. I mean, your support went in when there was absolutely no reason to, or you were the support and your AD carry went in when there was absolutely no reason to. Your jungler came in for a gank and just kind of died, which wasn't good. Things like that happen, and it's very easy to be like, oh, WTF, what are you doing? And be all mad at them. And that generally doesn't help anything. If you voice your frustration to the people that are, at fault, it is their fault, inarguably their fault. If you vent at them, your frustration, it goes down a little bit, but their frustration, now they're really mad. And so they've got all this frustration. What are they going to do? They're going to vent. And their frustration goes down a little bit. And so who else is on the team? Theirs goes up. And it just becomes this echo chamber of rage and flame and anger, and it doesn't help a team. I mean, a lot of the time you can win a game just by making the enemy team mad at each other, at which point they all just bicker and die and lose. And you don't want to be the catalyst for that. You don't want to be the guy that starts the rage chain. So that's not to say you can't criticize your team, or even be forcefully critical. But the way you word things and just what you convey in your emotions when you're talking to your team can be very critical. Just don't vent at them. Just be like, hey, Tarek, we probably didn't want to go in on that. Can we try to avoid that now that we're behind? Or, Mundo, that was just a bad idea. Let's try to be more careful with your ganks. Those are the kind of things that you can say. Not, WTF, man, what are you doing? You suck. That doesn't help anybody. So far we've got relax, don't vent, because you have to work with your team for the next 15 minutes at least, so kind of want to have a good working relationship there. And the final point is a little less psychological, but is very much a part of, Sun Tzu's information warfare stuff. Vision is critical. If you're behind, the absolute best thing you can do from a gameplay standpoint is to establish vision. If you know where the enemy team is, you can avoid anything they throw at you. If you've got wards in your jungle, you can see roamers coming in. If you've got wards in their jungle, you can see where their jungler is. You can see all sorts of stuff. And this is how, in the IPL 5 Finals, Game 2, World Elite totally came back from nowhere and smushed Fnatic hard. About halfway into the game, Fnatic lost their oracles, and they didn't buy another one, which was kind of confusing, but they must have thought, oh, we're so far ahead it doesn't matter. World Elite was like, wards, and they warded the ever-loving crap out of Fnatic's jungle. And all of a sudden, Fnatic couldn't do anything. Anywhere they went, World Elite was just like, nope. And they'd go somewhere else and cause a play somewhere else, catch people out of position, just totally running circles around Fnatic, and all because they knew where Fnatic was, and Fnatic didn't know where they were. So vision can be really, really powerful. And it's obviously really powerful when you're ahead as well, but it's never more important than when you're behind. So these three things, relax, don't vent, and establish vision, are three key things you can do to come back from behind. So we're going to go ahead and look at a couple replays that really show what can happen when you fall behind, and some ways that you can play well when behind, and some ways that you can play not so well. So we're going to look at this first replay here. Now in this replay, I'm playing Xerath. And Xerath is a pretty cool champion. I like him a lot. A lot of people find him boring. But I'm not really the focus of this game. We're going to be focusing on one of the other groups here. Bottom lane, top lane, or jungle. You can take your guess as to which player is going to be the most important one. The one who causes the gigantic mess. And while you're thinking about that and positing who it's going to be, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these lane matchups. For instance, I'm going to be going up against this Scion. Now, Scion is a typical roaming mid, kind of like Eve or Katarina, who all he really wants to do is maybe harass me a bit, push the wave, and then go murder somebody else, like this Ezreal, this Leona, or this Darius. That's his goal. And it's going to be my job to stop him from doing that. And as another AP mid, the only way for me to do that is either to push as hard as he does, which is kind of difficult because his shield is a very, very efficient pushing tool, or I can just harry him to the point where it's not safe for him to roam. And that's difficult, but that's my duty, and I'm going to be doing my best in that regard. He is going to get to roam a couple times, but for the most part, I do keep him in check. And some of these other lane matchups are pretty close. Lee Sin versus Darius is pretty difficult for both sides. If Lee Sin gets into Darius's range, he can just do a lot of damage, but then Lee Sin can also do a lot of damage, and he can sustain very well. So that's a pretty close matchup. Ezreal Leona, really offensive matchup, really strong offensive potential. But then Tristana Taric also has a lot of offensive potential. Whoever falls behind in this lane is going to have problems. And finally, Jungle Jarvan versus Mundo. Mundo's generally considered a better jungler than Jarvan, but Jarvan brings a lot to a team late game that Mundo doesn't. He's got tons of CC, he's got buffs for the team. I mean, we've got double armor buffs on this team, so that's all very nice and dandy. So, here's the question. Who's going to be the horrible feeder at the start of the game? And the answer is pretty much everybody. It's mostly going to be happening down here in the bottom lane in Mundo. If you guessed bottom lane and the jungle, you're correct on both counts, because we're going to see a minor disaster right down here, right about now. Now, before the disaster takes place, I'm going to point out something that happens here that's not so good. If you look at this exchange, and this is a little less about playing from behind and more just about general good play in a bottom lane, they did a fair amount of damage to this Taric, but in return, Ezreal took a fair amount of damage as well. And that's not really a good trade. When you're fighting in the bottom lane, you really want to be laying up the damage on the enemy carry, because that's the important person. If they have to go back and can't farm, they get weaker, and that weakens the lane as a whole a lot more than when the support has to go back. So this, at the very outset, wasn't really a great trade. It happens sometimes, but you kind of want to be mindful not to dive in on the support too much when the enemy carry is free to do stuff. And you definitely don't want to exhaust after they've already done all their damage and before the gank comes in. And this is where everything goes a little wrong. This is a very typical mistake, walking into tower range at level 1 and just dying. So this is what we call a catastrophe. Tristana has gotten 2 kills at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. She has red buff. Ezreal has died before getting any meaningful creep score. That's not good at all. And things are not going to get much better from here. I mean, she's got red buff. That's just a worst case scenario for bottom lane. And it's only going to get worse. Believe it or not, this is only going to get worse because of certain mistakes that happen. Now, if you recall, I said the important things to do when you're behind are to relax, take it easy, and just slowly and carefully crawl your way back into this. How much do you want to bet that this Ezreal remembers to do that? He's already started wasting mana attacking Taric when he should be trying to get creep score, and he's going to make another very, very grave error. I wonder if you can guess what it is. Probably easy to guess, and it's going to happen right now. So he's still level 1, and they're level 3, and despite Leona's best efforts, we now have another dead Ezreal. So things have just gone from horrible to worse. Ezreal not being very patient, not being very mindful of the fact that Taric can just walk out here and murder him, got up a little too far, and is now dead. And has to walk all the way back to the lane again. Tristana's now level 3. She's a full 2 levels up, 3 levels up. She's got 19, going on 20 creep score up on him. She's got over twice his gold. I mean, This is terrible. Let's just take a moment. This is absolutely the worst thing that can happen to you, pretty much, in a lane. I mean, you died at level 1. Your jungler died at the same time. The enemy has red buff. I mean, how much worse could this possibly get? Not really any worse. This is the worst case scenario for anybody in a lane. And despite how bad this is, despite how horrific this is, it's still technically possible for Ezreal, if he's just very, very careful, and just takes his time to potentially be useful in the mid-game at least, if he just, goes, hey, you know what? I just need to farm. I'm not going to be very useful otherwise. And maybe my team can carry me. And his team possibly still can carry him. This is bad. Tristana's fed. But hey, we've got a nice long-range AP. We've got some great damage from Darius. We can potentially still do this. So even in these bad situations, don't give up hope. But do be careful. So back to the replay. Tristana's going back. She's going to have gangbusters in terms of items. This poor Ezreal is going to be in a great deal of trouble. I mean, he's got 1 creep score. This is 4.5 minutes into the game. He's just getting back to the tower, and he just doubled his creep score, ladies and gentlemen. doubled his creep score to 2. That's just depressing. Like, if you're this Ezreal, you're not really feeling too great. And that's why it's so important. Just, I mean, if I was this Ezreal, I would be having trouble being mentally stable. I would be like really anxious, really worrying about, oh man, my team hates me, I'm bad, and if they say I'm bad, there's not much I can say because this Tristana is 2-0-1 and I have less than half her creep score at the 5-minute mark. What am I supposed to tell my kids when they ask me, were you a good AD carry? No, I was not, son. I was not. I was the first person to crap themselves off the boats at D-Day. This is not my best and finest hour. That's where this Ezreal is. And he just needs to keep that in mind and not get too upset about it and just slowly try to work his way back. He may not at this point be able to match this Tristana in terms of creep score, but if he's just relaxed and just focuses on getting the creep score, this is not an insurmountable advantage. It's only 2 kills and an assist. If they're just patient, if they just take their time, the level gap will close, the creep score gap won't get worse, and all of this advantage she has now, even though it's a very big advantage, I mean, it's like Pickaxe, Doran's Blade, it will right itself, the relative difference will shrink, and he'll be okay. Now, this kind of aggression you kind of want to avoid. I mean, she was close to the turret, but you can take a lot of damage by being aggressive like that. Just sit back and try to get the creep score. Just relax. If you keep being aggressive like this when you're behind, you can take a lot of damage that's not very useful. I mean, we can see that Tristana's already all the way back up to full health, thanks to the sustain from Taric, thanks to her Doran's Blade. And so that little aggression, it kind of bought a little room for Ezreal, not all that much. It wasn't very effective. You want to avoid that, especially when you don't have any sustain left. This Leona has already used up all of her flask charges, and so if she takes damage, it's essentially permanent. And this Ezreal moved up way too far, and so he just took a lot of damage as well. And he's using his potion a little early. You kind of want to wait till after the healing debuff goes away so you get the full effect. Even though it's only a little bit difference, you still want to get every last ounce because it can make a big difference if you do get an engagement. That 5, 10, 17 health, that's what, people always ask each other when somebody gets away with almost no health. It's, how much was it? 5. And they're like, oh, darn, if only I was slightly stronger. But sometimes it's just, how did you use your potion 5 minutes ago? That can be a big difference. So Ezreal's chugging through his potions because of unnecessary damage he's taking. He used his Q to kind of harass Taric a bit when really he kind of wants to save it for all of these things. His mana is a little precious. He wants to try to get these creeps. He's not doing the best job, but hey, this is not high YOLO. This is just some random game I'm playing with some friends and in normal queue because this was right after the patch. So we're not exactly expecting platinum play out of this Ezreal. We're just expecting him to try to do his best. And he is trying, but he is making a few mistakes. He's taken some damage he doesn't want to take. We want to keep this chill. And unfortunately, for this Ezreal, things are not going to get much better. Yeah, things are pretty bad right now. But if you were thinking this Ezreal was going to do some amazing Gosu play and come back from this, you are unfortunately wrong. They're still just taking some damage they don't need to be taking. And as we can see, Mundo is coming into position to try to gank. He is sitting on a ward, so not a whole lot is going to happen here. At the moment, anyway. And they're still taking a lot of damage. And you can see, and this is important, they're not at full health. They could be at full health if they just didn't be aggressive earlier. But now they're going in. Mundo's on his way. But because they weren't at full health, look at how close this is. Ezreal goes down first. Then Leona goes down, but just imagine, they would have 3 or 4 more bars apiece if they had just been full health. Mundo also wasn't full health. He sits around with his W ticking. He dies, and this is worse. But let's just rewind a little bit. I want to make this point again. All that aggression that they were doing against the people who were ahead, it didn't get them anywhere. It just did not get them anywhere. They took a lot of damage, and if you saw that gank, you saw how close that was. If that Leona had just barely had a little more health, she could have possibly done something. Tristana at least might have died, and then she and Mundo might have had a fighting chance against Taric, and it would have been a 2-for-1. Things would have been okay. Same thing. If Ezreal were slightly stronger, he could have done better. He could have gotten some more damage off before dying, and it might have gone better. And it didn't. Because they just didn't have quite enough health, because maybe their abilities were a little off. But those little things you don't even think about when the actual engagement happens, they can add up, and they can mean the difference between victory and defeat. This was not necessarily a bad gank. It wasn't the best executed gank, but because they just didn't have as much health as they could have had, it went sour. And I'll try not to spoil things before they happen again. I see some people are complaining, but we'll keep going on with this replay. So now Tristana is still ridiculously ahead of Ezreal. She still has twice his gold. That's kind of bad for Ezreal. And by kind of bad, I mean this has just gone from bad to worse. He no longer has much of a chance of being at all useful for the early game. He doesn't really have much of a chance to even be useful in the mid game. He's basically at this point pretty much dead weight. That's very unfortunate. It happens to the best of us, and obviously it happens to other people as well. But this is a lost lane. There's almost no recovering from this. I mean, Tristana is 4-0-2. Even Taric has 2 kills. I mean, seriously. Tristana just picked up a BF sword 9 minutes in. She's halfway to Infinity Edge. Poor Ezreal, he's got 2 Doran's Blades. He doesn't even have Boots 2. This is a desperately bad situation. And again, even in this situation, hope should not be lost. The rest of the game is not going the best. I mean, Darius is close to even with this Lee Sin, a little bit behind. Even though Mundo has been dying a lot, he's only a couple hundred gold behind Jarvan, because Jarvan has been a complete derp, and Jarvan has actually been leveling his E first. For those of you who ever jungle Jarvan, that's not how you jungle Jarvan, even in the new jungle. That's kind of a waste. Unless you build a quick Wriggles. Maybe if you build a quick Wriggles. But leveling E first, not really the best. In any case, going back from that, this is still not the worst situation. I'm actually pretty even with, like, everybody else is actually pretty even. It's just this lane that's fed. That's not unrecoverable. It is a 4k gold gap, but things can get better if they just wait for the right opportunities and take them. And such an opportunity is actually going to come up very soon. If you noticed, I'm Xerath, and I took Teleport. And Teleport's pretty nice on Xerath, because Teleport allows you to just gank other lanes. Xerath tends to like to hang back anyway. He usually doesn't have many opportunities to use Ignite past the early game, or if he does, it's usually because things have gone horribly, horribly wrong. So Teleport's just a very strong option, especially when you're trying to counter a strong roamer like Sion. And if you were paying attention to the minimap, you noticed that me and Mundo here successfully killed Sion. And hey, my Teleport's back up. So I'm going to talk to these guys, and I'm going to say, we got a word right here, let's gank. And Tristana's in this great place. She's right by the tower. If Leona just goes in on her, everything will be great. So that actually wasn't all that great. Nothing happened. And I talked about opportunities earlier. And I had mentioned that it was very, very important to not be over-aggressive and not take opportunities that were really just opportunities for your opponent. But let's rewind a little bit and take a look at this. This was classic grade A position. Look at where Tristana is. Look at where the ward is. I've actually started my teleport right about now. I'm going to come in right here. This is absolutely a perfect pincer. The tower's right here. All Leona has to do is just throw her ultimate right here, right now. Just throw it down, right now. Just throw it down anytime now, anytime, and this would have been perfect. She could even right now still flash ult, get her hook off, get her stun. Ezreal has enough mana to jump in, possibly to ultimate, do anything, and we could pick up a kill here. And they don't. And I asked them about it, and you know, the answer they gave wasn't bad. They're like, we can't fight, we're too weak. And I respect that as an answer. They've been harried, they've been the crap beat out of them the whole time. I understand that they feel insecure about fighting. But I would like that excuse a lot better if they didn't, the very next thing as I leave, fight. I mean, they literally told me, we can't fight. And then we'll die. And then the very next thing that happens, right after I leave, is they fight, and they don't die. So it's just a very classic case of being behind, and missing an opportunity because your mental state is not where it needs to be. This was a perfect opportunity. They blew it, and that's how it goes sometimes. It's unfortunate. That was their one shot at coming back, perhaps. It's not going to happen. And instead, they're going to do things like sit at a turret that's obvious dive material, and dive into the middle of all the creeps, and then die. Just not very useful. So this lane's a write-off, and we're going to stop focusing on them because they're never going to recover at this point. I mean, we got some action happening here. They're going to try to fight and whatever. But really, at this point, no matter what happens, this lane is horribly lost. I mean, Ezreal did pick up a kill, but then Tristana picked up another kill in response. Ezreal's not in a good situation. Tarek's coming in on him. Is Ezreal going to escape? He's got the exhaust on him. Is this going to... Oh, he makes it. And we got a 1-for-1 here, but really, 1-for-1 trades at this point, not really going to save this lane. It's time for us to move on to the big picture. That lane has lost, they weren't patient, so how can we come back? What is going to happen? How are we going to get out of this? And if you're going to notice, I've actually bought a sight stone, and that's kind of an uncommon thing in the lower rankings for mids to do, but it's a really effective thing because I can establish vision control. And if anything is going to save us in this game, it's not going to be bottom lane, it's going to be vision control. And we're going to move on ahead to a moment where that actually comes into play. If we move right here to around the 15-minute mark, we see that Sion is roaming bottom, because unfortunately I had to go back, and that gave him some free reign. But due to a little bit of vision, bottom lane knows he's there, and so this attempt at a roam isn't actually going to work out terribly great. He's not remotely weak enough that they can kill him, but he's not in any danger. But if we see here, look at his situation. I have vision of him because of this ward, and I've actually thrown a ward in here as well, and I'm freaking Xerath. And because of vision, and because he's coming back through our own jungle, good things are about to happen. He doesn't know that I'm not alone, and so we can actually catch him out of position. And yeah, he's ignited me, and yeah, I took some damage, but with Mundo and me together, this is a pretty hopeless situation for him since he does not have his flash. And we just pick up a kill. And that's what vision gets you. That's the power of vision. I mean, this is, if without wards, this is a perfectly safe place to be. I mean, they're way ahead. We can't stop them, right? Well, when you're alone in the enemy's jungle, if they know you're there, they can just come kill you. And that's what we did. That's the kind of effective use of vision that can bring you back into a game. Now, we're obviously still 5k gold behind at this point. We've got half their kills. I'm going to go get a refresh on my blue buff. But that really, really helped us come back. It gave us a little bit of a psychological advantage, if nothing else. And we can keep doing this. I mean, if we look at this situation again, here's Sion, and he's coming right into our jungle. But we have a ward here. We can see him. We've got wards all around. We know kind of thing what's going on. I'm a little out of position. I thought he was going to come right up here again. But we can still make things happen. I can ult him. He's taken a lot of damage. I'm doing pretty good for myself now that I've got both Sork Boots and Haunting Dies. He's not going to get out of here. But because we have vision, I know exactly where Jarvan's coming from. We know where Tristana and Tarek are because they were just down here in vision of the minions. Jarvan's coming in. He takes a bunch of damage because he's alone. They're coming in on me. I get CC'd, but hey, I have vision because of this ward. I know basically where they are. And I can just keep poking at them. They're retreating this way. Hey, they're all low. We've got a ward in this bush now. Just poke at them some more. If we were a little bit more aggressive, like this Mundo were more aggressive, we might even have picked up a kill here. But this is what vision gets you. It gives you control. It gives you a sense of where people are, and it helps inform your actions. You know that, hey, I can stick around right here because they're all low. I can actually just kind of fight them. I can fight this Jarvan and do a bunch of damage to him, and things will work out well for me. And so now they're all low. Got a stray Ezreal coming through, hoping to pick up Tristana. It doesn't succeed. But hey, Tristana obviously doesn't know what Xerath does, so she just dies meaninglessly. And hey, she got caught out. They're on the back foot because I was able to do a lot of damage to them because of vision. And I'm going to keep emphasizing this. Vision has set up everything that we are now accomplishing. And maybe some egregious mistakes on the part of the enemy team are helping, like that one. Didn't really help that Cyanol. you know, just he probably didn't want to do that in retrospect. But hey, we got a tower out of this. And it all started because we knew generally what they were doing and where they were. It's very, very powerful to have a vision advantage. Even if you're not super pro players like World Elite, even if you're not the best in the world, just having a vision advantage can really bring you back. We're still 6k gold behind, but because we're catching players out of position, because we're just taking advantage of this vision, because, I mean, if you look at us, we've got 3 Sightstones on the team, and that might seem a little excessive, but it's going to keep setting up plays for us. We know this Tarek's here, we know Jarvan's coming behind him, but Jarvan doesn't know we're here, and he just... I mean, if you knew that I was in this bush, would you have done what Jarvan just did? Probably not, because that was a really dumb thing to do. We just have wards everywhere, and because we've got wards everywhere, we're able to keep catching people out of position, and we're able to... I mean, we look like we're doing really well. I mean, we've got we've got more towers than they do. If you didn't have this little gold overlay up here, you'd think, hey, these guys might be winning. And yeah, we just lost Ezreal down here, but we weren't really counting on him for anything at this point anyway. We picked up Tarek, we got his oracles. That's a pretty costly mistake for them, especially because that's the only way they're going to counter his vision. And so we're just catching people out of position again, because we caught Tarek out of position, because Tristana's bottom, because they don't really know what we're doing. We're able to just keep picking up these kills, keep pushing towers, and keep making things happen. Unfortunately, this is turning around a little bit. They finally collapsed in. We lose our Leona, and the two of us aren't really going to be strong enough to turn this around. Ezreal's death has not helped us here. It would have been nice if he hadn't died, but whatever. But again, vision is key. Vision is absolutely critical. And yeah, we're losing this turret, but everything that's gone well for us so far has just been because of all these wards we're throwing all over the map. They're giving us key advantages. They're bringing the game home to us. And we can push them back even more. Good things can happen to those who wait. We're not going to pick up any kills right away, unfortunately. They're able to escape. I didn't get my 3rd ult charge off while they were still low, otherwise Lee Sin might have died. But again, I mean, look at how low they are, and because they're low, and because most of us are here, we were in a fairly good position, although Darius has wandered off, and because he's too busy with Wraiths, they were kind of bold, and I kind of kicked the bucket there. I probably should have noticed that Darius had wandered off. But hey, you know what? Darius had vision, so he knows he's pretty safe in this bush. He knows what they're up to. He can recall. He's fine. I'm just dead. I'm not bitter or anything. I'm not bitter. Anyway, Ezreal's trying to farm back into this. But I cannot emphasize enough how important a role vision has played in everything that's happened so far. And even right now, we've got vision of Baron. And because we've got vision of Baron, we know that they were doing this. I mean, this is the most basic vision cases. We know they're doing Baron, we can stop them. And because they don't know where the heck Darius is, they don't really feel secure in doing Baron. They're kind of worried. They'd be like, oh man, we don't know. So because of that, you know, they didn't really accomplish a whole lot, despite the fact that they brutally murdered me. And at the same time, if we had vision at this dragon, maybe we would have reacted faster. Tristana seems to be having a fine old time doing it by herself, but even though we got vision late, they get dragon. You want to have vision on everything. Even dragon late in the game, kind of important, so they can't just take it like that. And we look like we're really behind. I mean, right here we've got like a 7k gold gap, 8k, but on towers, hey, we're perfectly even. All the same towers are gone on both teams, and that's pretty, you know, that's important. If you did not see that we had this gold gap, you'd see, well, there's a 5 kill difference, but they're even on towers. You know, this is a close game. This isn't really a close game if you look at the gold score. Oh my goodness, no, 8k gold? Good. 26 minutes in, that's a lot of gold to be behind. But we still are we're looking pretty strong. The 4 of us are pushing mid. Jarvan's a little too aggressive here. He gets away. Ooh, there's the Leona ult, and Lee Sin's taking some big damage. He goes down. They've just taken a crap ton of damage from everybody. Oh, wow, Jarvan barely surviving that. And hey, look, we're pushing turrets. we're doing well. We're way behind, but because we've got vision and because this Jarvan derped and forgot that Xerath has range longer than God, he's dead. We can actually push another turret. We got the first tier 2 turret, guys. Look at this. We're getting the first inhibitor turret. Look at how fast that thing's falling. We're all 5 of us together. Is Tristana going to be able to stop those? No way. We're getting this inhibitor too. And this is what just vision and catching people out can do for you. This is good stuff for us. Mundo's being a little derp, though. We kind of just wanted to get the inhib and get out. He's dying. That's not great, but hey, we're still doing some damage here. Tristana's kind of... Well, there goes Leona. That's not great. Guys, we kind of wanted to go back. Well, we got Tristana. I'm picking up this Scion kill. And, I was probably dead anyway because he flashed for that, but I kind of didn't want to get in range of the turret. We're kind of all dying. That's not great. We really didn't want to go chasing after Tristana over here. If anything, we probably wanted to apply some pressure to the turret, or more importantly, just run away. Take what we can get. That wasn't the best decision, but hey, you know, if you didn't see these goal scores, you'd think, you know what, blue team is kicking butt. Look at this. They've got an inhibitor turret. The enemy team doesn't even have a tier 2 tower. Look at that. Look at that. Blue team's awesome. Minus certain tower shenanigans. But despite the fact that this poor Ezreal had the worst game of his life so far, we're looking good. We're actually looking like we can win this. So we're gonna let's just move a little bit ahead to the next important team fight. Let's not dally about here. So things are happening again. We're setting up shop over here. We don't have entire vision, but hey, we got some wards here. We don't have a ward in this bush. And maybe they're in this bush, and maybe they're going to think we're doing Baron, so I set up shop right here. And if we pause for the moment, can they see me? Only now that I'm attacking them can they see me. So Lee Sin just gets instantly murdered. And this is vision. This is what vision gets you. They couldn't see me around the corner. Lee Sin walks out. All he sees is a Mundo. And all of a sudden, we have a deadly Sin. We can push up mid again. We can make things happen. Darius is a little ways behind us, but hey. They're down a man anyway. We can make things happen. Having a Darius late to a fight kind of works out. He can just ult everything and they die. I'm being very aggressive moving forward. I'm pretty confident here. I hate it when Tristana can jump out of my queue. Worst thing in the world. There goes the double ultimate. This is Darius's field day. He's having fun. There's not a whole lot for us to push here right here at the inhibitor, but hey, look. We've got big creeps. We can take a tower. Tristana's going to try to fend us off, but you know, Ezreal, if he just hangs back, he can probably do enough damage to it. I can threaten Tristana. He doesn't need to do anything rash, like fight Tristana. Doesn't need to do anything rash. We did get Tristana. Unfortunately, there was some Ignite or Tristana E on her. I decide to fight in tower range. I highly recommend that you not fight in tower range because things like that happen where you die for no good reason and give Lee Sin a double kill that probably should never have happened. He should be dead right now, and this turret that has 190 health on it should be gone. Don't make the mistake I just made. I mean, that was just... You can see my little scattered bits here. Those are the scattered Xerath bits of shame. Don't make that mistake. But despite all that, we're still looking good. We've just been pushing right into their base. We almost got this turret. We just need to not do derp things like go after Tristana when we don't need to. She is on the rocks. She can't stop us. Don't worry about her until she makes a mistake. We're doing okay. So let's just move on ahead a little bit again. Just a little bit. Make things happen again. We'll see what's going on. They're pushing in again. We've got vision. We know they're in here. They can't see me again because they don't have wards here in this critical place. And again, I mean, look at this. Xerath, over-the-wall shenanigans. Tristana wants to try to kill me. She would have died right there, except this Darius pulled her away. Darius. This is just, you know, sad that this Tristana got away. And Lee Sin got away too. But hey, look, we're pushing their inhibitor again. Good things are happening. We're going to push through. What did I say about chasing Tristana? Come on. I'm trying to help Mundo here because he's going balls deep. Did not help him. But hey, you know, they're all in this confined area. That's generally pretty good for me. We're picking up a few kills here. Darius is going down, though, and it's me by myself. Not good. I did pick up Lee Sin. And I'm going to point out, this is where I make a very big mistake. I'm actually going to miscalculate my damage here. And you can see I get 2 ults off on Tristana, but I waste the third. Her Guardian Angel's already down. If I use this last ultimate on this Jarvan, he would be dead right there. I could run this way rather than this way, and the following wouldn't happen. Ah! Oof, shot in the back. Painful. So, mistake. I've made mistakes. It's my first Xerath game after the patch. Come on, give me a break. Okay, don't give me a break. I don't deserve one. I'm better than this. But you can see, though, that our execution, it's not the best. But even though our execution is poor, we're doing really well despite the fact that we're down 10k gold. If you saw how well we were fighting, in terms of just pushing them back constantly, you'd think, there can't be a 10k gold gap. How is there a 10k gold gap? That doesn't make any sense. No sense whatsoever. But there is, and unfortunately, it's not going to get much closer. I'm going to skip ahead to the final team fight of the game because there's not much point in belaboring this. We've got a nice Leona ultimate, but people are dying. So, if you were very attentive there, you might have noticed that I had a number of options before me. If we just rewind and we just look at the situation as it unfolds a little bit more carefully, I mean, we're going to catch them all together, which is a great place for Xerath to be. I get some damage off here. I'm able to reposition quickly. And right now, the best thing for me to do is to try to go for this Tristana. Instead, I aim over here. I mean, I hit 3 people. That's good. But I'm going to slow this down instead of just constantly pausing. Where does my first ultimate go? It goes on Scion. I don't hit Tristana with it. Where does my second ultimate go? It finally hit Tristana, but if you look over here, I could possibly have saved our Ezreal and our Darius some trouble if I just murdered these guys instead. And I do hit Tristana twice with my ultimate, but she's kind of not in a terrible way because I didn't hit her with either the first Q or the first proc of the ultimate. My aim was off. She'd be dead right now if I'd hit her with either. And they could be dead if I'd done anything to them. And a number of things went wrong with this team fight, and I was one of them. And as a result, they just kind of push and win. So I tried to carry hard. I know some of you one of you was complaining earlier that I only show games where I carry hard. Unfortunately, this is one where I failed. I mean, I did okay. I got a lot of kills. I'm 15, 7, and 10. That looks like a good carry. Except I failed in the most important team fight of the game pretty utterly. I targeted the wrong things, and that's victory. So, but, you know, we lost that game. It happens. It happens. But you saw that game. We had a huge gold gap. Huge gold gap. And despite the fact that our bottom lane fed the heck out of that Tristana, despite the fact that it was a really, really bad feed. I mean, that Tristana went like 6-0 and 4 really quickly. We almost won. It was close. And if you can play from behind, games that seem like there's no way you can win, you can actually have a fighting chance. Now, we don't have a whole lot of time left in the hour, but I'm going to very quickly look at another game where things weren't quite so... They didn't go quite so badly. But not because it didn't start out badly, but because the players involved just didn't play so aggressively. They didn't make the same mistakes that this poor Ezreal, he was trying really hard. I can vouch for him. I know the guy. I was playing with him, and a few of us were on voice, I think. Maybe 1 or 2 of us. And that's how I was communicating with them about the gank, and that's how they told me they couldn't fight, and that's why I was so confused. Next thing they did was fight. But we'll see that in another game, with people, the way that the play goes out in the lane that's going to have feeding occur and some derps occur is going to be very, very different. But not because things don't start out bad, but because of how the players handle it. So let's take a look. In this game, I'm going to be doing something slightly different. If you look, I'm playing Jungle Akali. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big Jungle Akali aficionado. I actually just posted a Jungle Akali video. and it's right up there on my YouTube account. You can check it out. It's just the basic route. And I've also got a blog post about it, but I really like it. I think it's effective. I think Season 3, it's the best it's ever been. And I'm going to show you how to completely fail at it this game, because I'm not going to belabor the point. One of the major derps this game is, again, me. And in fact, the scenario is very, very similar to the previous one. What's going to happen, I will leave to your imagination. In fact, I'm just going to go straight to it. Let's watch the fail unfold. It's right now. Oh, I'm going to back up. That's a little too close. So, Nami and Graves, they're doing good. Look, they're catching them out a little bit. Hey, they've got an advantage. Look at this advantage. They've pushed them back to the turret. This is looking okay. Nami took a little bit of damage, but they're pretty close. Nami gets a nice stun off, and Graves kind of goes in when there was no... He didn't have his cooldowns or anything. That wasn't good. And not much Nami can do about that. And so here I am, the jungler. Hey, guys. Never mind. Just can't really do much about that. So that didn't go very well for Graves and Nami. They both died. Ezreal picked up 2 kills. This looks a little familiar, although the jungler hasn't done anything stupid. I mean, I'm here, I'm holding the lane, and I'm picking up the farm as a jungler is wont, keeping them a little honest, taking a little damage, but hey, I'm a Kali, I can spell vamp. All is well. I can harass them a bit. Hey, look at that, you know? Missed the pulverize. I'm looking so Gosu right now. And then, well, that wasn't good. Oh, man. Nope. 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 No dice. No dice. Guess who's dead? This guy. So I just fed Ezreal double buff, which is technically even worse than what the Mundo did for the Tristana last game. Ezreal with double buff is a freaking pain in the butt. Now, Graves is not in quite as bad a situation as Ezreal because he is already level 2, and he didn't die immediately upon coming back to lane, but Ezreal is 3-0. Ezreal is doing pretty darn good. I'll just rearrange these very quickly. And they're even on creep score, but if we look at the gold, Ezreal's close to twice as much gold as Graves. This is a bad situation, but look at what Graves is doing. He's farming, he's taking his time, he is pushing the wave, but hey, you know, a pushed wave is actually an advantage when you're behind a little bit, because it means that they can't be as aggressive. If Ezreal were to come back and just be like, let's kill him, there's this huge wave of creeps that would curb that would just do a ton of extra damage. And he can take some pot shots at the tower if he likes. Alistar's alone, there's not a whole lot of danger. He can dash away, because he's level 2, now level 3. He has his dash. And he's just being very mindful of Alistar's range. We'll speed this up just a little bit for time. But he's staying way back. Look at this. You know, the creeps are all the way up here. A lot of players would just be very, very conscious of the fact, oh man, the creeps are way over here and I'm getting zoned. But he's like, you know what? It's not worth it. If I was way up there, they might just kill me. I'm going to wait, let the creep wave push. I did miss some creeps. I did miss some experience. But hey, look, now the creeps are down here, and if they want to be aggressive, they're at a lot more risk. I'm in a much safer position. Hey, look, we just stunned him. Hey, look, the jungler's here. They're going to back off. Nothing much happens there, but hey, I'm safe. And he's just playing very safe. He's staying back. He's not letting himself get caught out. He's doing the best. Now, he is being a little aggressive. He's dancing a fine line, and it's a very dangerous line, but he's not being abjectly aggressive. He's not just going in there and doing things that are just overtly dangerous. He's just taking regular, calculated risks. He's staying even with Ezreal on farm. He's not letting Ezreal get a huge farm advantage because he's staying focused. He's not losing sight of what he needs to do. And this is just very good play. And this is what this Ezreal in the last game needed to be doing. Just concentrating on getting the creep score, concentrating on getting back into this, not being overly worried about the fact that he's behind. I mean, he's not doing the best under the tower. That's understandable. This is 1200 ELO. Who would blame a 1200 ELO player for being bad like that? Whatever. It's normal. He's going to work his way up eventually over the course of the season. He'll get better at that. He's behind. He's not freaking out about the fact he's not getting the creep score. He's just working at it. And he's keeping pretty even with this Ezreal because Ezreal has lost sight of how to get ahead. If he wants to get ahead, all he has to do right now is just do better than this Graves and creep score. And if there's an advantage, Alistar's going to be the one to make it happen. And he just barely misses that pulverize. Nami had a very close shave there, but, you know, she's positioning pretty well too. She's not being overly aggressive. They're getting advantages like that, although that was a little bad. Okay, that was very bad. But most of the time, she's been pretty good with her positioning. Unfortunately, against Alistar, one small positioning mistake can mean death, and that was that right there. But generally speaking, she's been pretty good, and generally speaking, Graves has been pretty good. And he almost dodged the pulverize, and he almost dodges this Ezreal ult. And if he dodged either, he might have lived. That wasn't great, but even though he's died again, you know, this is much like the Ezreal situation. He's actually been creep scoring. He's actually been keeping it in there. He's got even creep score with, well, he's a wave behind Ezreal, but he's close to half the gold of Ezreal. It's not great, but he has the right attitude. It hasn't really worked out the best. But, you know, it was just a very, very small positioning mistake. Those can be very hard to deal with. It wasn't any of this egregious, Tarek's in this bush, I'm going to stand here stuff that happened with the other Ezreal. And he's actually going to successfully come back eventually. It's going to be very hard, but things will happen. Although, you know, Diana's actually falling behind too. We've got another similar gold gap, and this is not the best. We're going to speed things up for time's sake. We're going to watch. He's just farming. He's farming. That's a little too fast. Nami dies there. She got caught out a little bit, but here's an opportunity right here. This is the kind of thing you live for, and this is what Graves is trying to take advantage of. Ezreal took tower hits he didn't need to take. He didn't see the tower was attacking him because of Graves' smokescreen, and Graves manages to just barely pick up the kill. He was in a safe position because he started the whole fight out at full health. He was strong, and he wouldn't need to have actually gone that far if he had done some good auto attack canceling when he went into this bush. He didn't quite do that well, and that caused him to have to chase, but he managed to eke out a good opportunity. They got a little too aggressive when picking off this Nami. He got 2 kills out of the deal, and he is back in this. He got the crucial killing spree gold. All of a sudden, what was, I've got double your gold, is now, hey, you only got less than 1,000 gold ahead of me now. How about that? And he's going to successfully come back. It's going to be good. And rather than watch the entire game, because we're low on time, we're going to skip ahead to the final moments. And we're going to see, hey, yeah, this was a long game, but eventually we've actually gotten a lead. Look at this. We're ahead. By a little bit, they still have more kills, but we're even on towers. We've got a little bit of vision. We've got this ward in this bush letting us know they're all there. They have a ward in this bush letting them know I'm here. Mumu comes in, and he makes a big mistake. He uses his ultimate on just 2 people. And now there goes the Ezreal ultimate. And now, hey, you know what? We've taken some damage. That's not good. That's not good, but, you know, they've used up ultimates. I'm a Kali. I can just, look at me, I just healed up. Gunblade, overpowered, ridiculously so. And we're going to have a nice big team fight here. We've got their inhibitors down. They have to deal with this big mess here at their Nexus, otherwise they're just going to lose towers. So we're able to freely go for this Baron. And hey, Graves is like, you know what? I'm going to do something tricky. He could be here helping us. They do have vision, actually. But he's just going to come out, and there goes Ryze. And he's in trouble, but, you know, GA, he's going to survive. And here's, you know, Nami's coming to help save him. There goes the heal. Very crucial heal. It bounced off right back in time. Nami is in trouble, but hey, she gets her up. Well, no, she died. That's unfortunate. But we're picking them off. I'm in trouble. But you know what? I'm being tricky. I'm a Kali. I can escape. Down goes Alistar. Sin's just like, you're not getting away, a Kali, except I'm a Kali. And I just murdered him. They know where I am, but you know what? We're 2 for 2 right now. And I'm just going to run the hell away, because Amumu's coming after me. They've got that ward showing where I am. And I'm not afraid, because Alistar just got caught out. That was not so great. And I'm still not afraid, because guess what? Ezreal, you're by yourself. With an Akali coming, you can see how nasty Akali is. His health just vanished, and you know what? There's nothing left. There's just a poor Mumu. Is he going to be able to stop us pushing? No freaking way. Gangplank, Diana, and Akali. Just look at that tower. It's gone. Look at this inhibitor. It's gone. Do you think these towers are going to last very long? Think they're going to last long? Nope. Nope, just look at them melt. Just look at the towers melt. This is late game towers. They're not very strong. And down they go. We're going to have some shenanigans here at the inhibitor. There's the new Mumu ult. What can I do? Well, I can smite this creep so that I survive long enough to push this Nexus. And it's victory. It's victory. We won. We were way behind. But guess what happened? Graves hung in there. When the opportunity came, he took it. He went for it. And because he'd been being very careful, keeping his health up early, he was able to eke something out, and we made it back into the game. And that's why playing from behind is important, why learning to do that is a big deal. So that's the show for tonight. Just let me remind you, relax, don't vent at your team, and vision. Vision is critical. It's the key thing that's going to really, really, really help you. It's so, so important. Yeah, that Nami support was really OP. Be humble, Pete. Be humble. So that's the show for the most part. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them again. In the meantime, I'm going to remind you, I do have a show coming up next week. It will be the Montegomery Christmas show. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun. It will not be the typical show. We won't be going through replays the same way we have been these past 4 weeks. 4 weeks, guys. This is the first month of Mondays with Monty. That is a lot of alliteration. It is great. I've had a lot of fun, and we're going into the holiday season. I am filled with the holiday spirit, not in part because yesterday I was singing Christmas carols, but in any case, please come and see me again next week at 8 p.m. Central Time. That's 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. West Coast. And we will have a grand old time. And don't forget to follow me here on Twitch TV and on any other social media site. I'm Montegomerylol in all places, and I really need some sort of a splash art for that. I'm entrusting that to you, 5 or anybody else. 3 Look, the European Union has a lot of time zones, and I don't know them all. I don't know them all. And I appreciate all you people who stay up till freaking 3 a.m. to watch me. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. I get a lot of help from some very good European players, so hats off to you, those people across the lake. In any case, I could give out... Well, the problem with giving out Riot Points for gifts on the next show is I'm not actually going to be here. It's going to be pre-recorded. I'd love to give out Riot Point gifts, but I can't do that if I'm not doing it live. I'm sorry. Maybe some other time. Maybe on my birthday in March or something. I don't know. Across the pond, across the lake, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? So in any case, I don't see many questions. I don't see any questions at all. You guys really, really need to ask me questions. But in any case, hey, you know what? It's almost 9 o'clock Central Time anyway. The show is effectively over. I'll give you guys 3 seconds. 2, 1. All right. No questions. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope, again, you'll join me next week and New Year's Eve. I understand that there are parties and church functions and all that stuff that you guys may be at. I'll forgive you. And I understand, well, you know what? You guys in EU, you've got no excuse. It's going to be 3 a.m. where you are. You were staying up all night anyway. Come on. Stick around and watch me. Why no interact with viewers? Well, I could interact a little bit more in general, but I'm going to be places. I'm not going to be here at my desk on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve because I have family visiting, and that is difficult. I'm too serious. I'll interact with viewers more sometime. If you guys can give me... What was a joke about the 2 seconds thing? I don't know. I can't follow you guys fast enough. I'm bad. I'm bad at this. It makes me sound all old and serious. Here's something. I'm gullible. You guys will find this out. I'm very gullible. Today, somebody posted about a match that was played in a TSM Invitational tournament where Soraka just totally double killed people. And somebody claimed it was a guy from the Elitist Jerks forums that I know. And it was a joke. And I was like, I didn't know that guy played on that team. And they were just like, Monte. It was a joke. I was like, oh. Ha. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gullible. Jokes just... They're like coming, they're like... And then it's just like... Nope, no dice. There's a magnetic field. I've got Banshee's Veil for jokes. You gotta fire at them more than every 25 seconds or else it's no good. So, anyway, that's the show. Thank you all for watching. I hope you join me next week. And I'm signing off. Good night. I will ignore that mini Monte stuff forever.